Okay, hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning. Second. Okay,
Morning,
for this
ma'am.
morning, we will have the pre-lab discussion for qualitative analysis of group 4 cations. Let me record this session. Okay, this is just a very short pre-lab discussion and a short activity as well kasi you have been exposed already to qualitative analysis sa first three groups of cations. Tapos na tayo sa group 1, 2, and 3 cations. So now, you will be exposed naman to the test or confirmatory tests, the tests of reactions ng mga group 4 cations. So, as the title stated, sabi dito, it's all about the reactions ng group 4 cations. So you'll expect na more on qualitative analysis of group 4 cations. So based on your knowledge, preliminary knowledge about group 4 cations, we have three main members, diba, under this group. We have barium, calcium, and strontium. Okay? So this is the main members ng group 4 cations, although later on you will be introduced with one distinct member, additional member sa group 4 cation. So for the objectives of this activity, you will be expected to identify the different test reactions ng mga group 4 cations, including the precipitating agents. You will be identifying the precipitating agents, the confirmatory test for each cations. Okay? So, basic knowledge also sa mga group 4 cations, they are group as one because they manifest the same characteristic. Diba? They form insoluble matter or insoluble compound, particularly in the presence of carbonate. In the presence of carbonate at basic environment. So halimbawa dyan would be ammonium carbonate. So halimbawa, barium test solution being reacted with ammonium carbonate, that will form insoluble barium carbonate. Okay, so the same goes with the other cations under group 4. Okay, so si calcium ion being reacted with ammonium carbonate, that will form also calcium carbonate, strontium as well. Okay? And mind you class na hindi naman cation yung nagre-react directly sa mga compounds. So it should be in a form of test solution. So later sa activity, although it's not mentioned sa video material nga gi-upload sa YouTube channel, but please take note that the test solutions being used for barium, calcium, and the other cations that will be used later on, which is magnesium, they are in nitrate solution. Okay, nitrate solution. So let's say barium nitrate. Ayan, barium nitrate. Then for calcium, calcium nitrate. Okay, kumbaga ito yung nagre-react ngayon sa precipitating agents or mga, yes, Miss Irma, magnesium nitrate. Yes, do you have question, Miss Irma? Ayan. So, once again, these ions, kani sila, they form insoluble precipitate in the presence of ammonium carbonate. Now, I have written here magnesium ion. Although sa inyong knowledge, preliminary knowledge, magnesium, this is part of what group? Saan na belong yung magnesium solely? Yes, very good. Group 5 cations under soluble group. But please take note na si magnesium, the same with these ions, no? Barium, calcium, strontium. Si magnesium din kasi, if it is reacted with carbonate, no, carbonate, halimbawa ammonium carbonate, it also forms insoluble precipitate. That's why it's also included here. However, distinct yung characteristic ng magnesium carbonate specifically. Okay, so again ha, si magnesium ion, if it is reacted with ammonium carbonate, ayan, so this is baliktad. Okay, ammonium. Dito dapat yung parenthesis. Ammonium carbonate, it will form magnesium carbonate. Okay, that's why it is still included here, no, sa list. However, distinct nga yung characteristic niya kasi unlike barium carbonate, calcium carbonate, strontium carbonate, yung carbonate ng magnesium is relatively soluble or moderately soluble, okay, nga precipitate. Ibig sabihin, halimbawa, addition of 5 drops of ammonium carbonate sa test solution na mayroong magnesium ion, it will form magnesium carbonate precipitate. However, with excess na, pula na lang, with excess na ng ammonium carbonate, okay, the magnesium carbonate initially formed will dissolve. So yun yung sabi dito, okay, yung carbonate ng magnesium is said to be soluble. Kaya nga, kapag dinagdagan pa ng excess, no, drops ng ammonium carbonate, yung test solution na merong magnesium ion, on the latter part, madedissolve lang din yung magnesium carbonate. But with the presence of ethyl alcohol, take note, ang magnesium carbonate is said to be insoluble. So muna yung characteristic with magnesium carbonate. So tandaan ulit, ang magnesium carbonate readily soluble siya with ammonium salt solution. Kung excess ng ammonium carbonate, ma-dissolve siya. But with presence of alcohol, no? Halimbawa, ethanol 95%, since this is acidic in nature, pwede nato ma-retain ang insolubility ng magnesium carbonate. So yan yung characteristic ng magnesium ion dyan. But the rest of these ions, barium, calcium, strontium, kahit walang ethanol, kahit excess yung ammonium carbonate, they will remain insoluble. Yung carbonates nila, barium carbonate, calcium carbonate, strontium carbonate, insoluble. Kaya nga generally, yung mga group 4 cations are also known as carbonate groups. Carbonate groups. And distinct ulit sa members ng group 4 cations is magnesium. Okay? Okay, so let me ask you again, Be, if you're listening. Kapag magnesium ion reacted with excess ammonium carbonate, soluble or insoluble yung solution? Okay, very good. Soluble, meaning wala kang makikitang precipitate of magnesium. Wala kang makikitang precipitate of magnesium. But with excess ng ammonium carbonate, in the presence of ethanol, meron or walang precipitate ng magnesium carbonate. Naglag ako ng akong shot box. Okay, very good. Insoluble, meaning kapag sinabing insoluble, merong precipitate. Okay? Pag insoluble, merong precipitate na nabuo. Okay? Sige. So sabi dito sa discussion portion, itong mga metals under group 4 cations, they form soluble chlorides and sulfides. That is a basic knowledge somehow. Kasi kapag chlorides, di ba, only group 1 cations form insoluble chlorides. Kaya nga ang group 1 cations, they are also known as insoluble chloride groups. Sino yung mga members, ano yung mnemonics natin sa group 1 cations, or also known as the insoluble chloride groups. So sabi dito, these metals, they form soluble chlorides. They do not form precipitate with chloride ion. Ano yung mnemonics natin for group 1 cations? Merciless, no? Merciless, mercury 1, silver, lead. Okay? And then sulfides. Ano yung mga groups among group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ang form of precipitates with sulfides? Groups 2 and 3. Very good. O, kapag group 2 cations, at what environment? Acid or basic? Very good. Kapag group 2 cations ha, acidic yung environment ng sulfide. Kapag naman group 3 cation, basic yung environment ng sulfide. Okay? Kaya sabi dito, kapag group 4 cations, they do not form, no? They do not form precipitate with chlorides or with sulfides. Saan lang? They only form precipitate, no? Particularly with carbonates. Yung uniformity nila with carbonates. Okay? Halimbawa, ammonium carbonate. Basic environment with carbonate. Now, additional knowledge naman sa mga group 4 cations, aside from they form insoluble, no, or mga precipitates in the presence of carbonate, they also form insoluble sulfates, insoluble chromates, okay, and insoluble oxalates as well, and pakidagdag, insoluble phosphates. Okay? So kapag nireact, halimbawa, yung barium, nireact mo sa chromate, halimbawa, potassium chromate, that will also form precipitate. Okay? And mind you, class, na yung chromate ng barium, okay, it is the least soluble nga chromate. Okay? So yung barium ion, ito yung pinaka-least soluble nga chromate. Ibig sabihin ng least soluble, kahit excess pa ng chromate, yung inad mo, nireact mo sa barium ion, barium chromate will remain insoluble. Kaya nga, least soluble siya. Hindi siya madaling nade-dissolve with excess chromate. Okay, it is the least soluble, no? Least soluble nga chromate. Okay? So, maghatag kong scenario ha para mas maintindihan. Halimbawa, in a test tube, merong calcium ion and merong barium ion. Okay? Tapos, nireact mo, so may solution ng calcium, test solution ng calcium and barium mixed in one test tube. Na nag-add ka ng potassium chromate, excess potassium chromate excess. So halimbawa 1 ml ng potassium chromate. O let me ask you, given this idea nga least soluble yung barium, sino dito yung madedissolve, okay, upon addition of excess potassium chromate? Madedissolve meaning present sa filtrate. Okay, it's the calcium. Okay? Kasi nga, ang atong idea nga, si barium, kahit excess pa ng potassium chromate ilagay mo, barium will remain insoluble. Yung, halimbawa, yung kulay, ano ba yung gray, ito yung yung liquid, yung filtrate, no? Yung filtrate. Sa filtrate, nandoon na si calcium. Okay? Kasi between barium ion and calcium ion, ang calcium chromate, it is soluble. No? Soluble siya kapag excess na ng chromate yung inad. So yan yung characteristic naman ni barium chromate. Okay? Kapag naman oxalate, among the list of cations, it is the calcium naman. Calcium ion that is considered least soluble, or let's say less soluble. Okay? Kumbaga, kahit excess pa ng oxalate, ion, nireact mo kay calcium nga test solution, calcium oxalate will remain insoluble. Okay? So later, that will be applied, no? Kana nga knowledge that will be applied later on sa proceeding procedures. Okay? Sige. So, let's have the procedure na. Okay? So, akong i-discuss muna yung procedure before I present to you the video material. Okay? Sige. So, procedure 1. Oh, kindly read Ms. Resil Abasolo. Kindly read procedure 8-1. Ay, nag-left si Resil. O si June Rose Corvera.
Ma'am,
Ay,
nagbiyahe si John Rose, ma'am.
sige, basta read na, no? Sige, how about Brickster Belisario? Nang-gilive na.
Nana nasa sa
Read.
Pikas, nasa sa Pikas Black, ma'am, si Briskster.
Ha? Isa rin yung block sa isa rin yung link.
I joke.
Links.
Bye-bye.
Yung totoo. Sige, palihog ko, basa, Brickster Belisario. Procedure 8-1, okay?
Place in a test tube 20 drops of each of the following test solutions containing barium, calcium, and magnesium.
Okay. So, ang scenario dito sa procedure 1, you have only one test tube and it is being added with test solutions of barium. Ano nga ulit yung ginamit ng mga test solution? You have barium nitrate. Okay? Then you have a calcium nitrate and magnesium nitrate. So yan yung mga participating cations, no, na you will be analyzing later on. Okay? Walang strontium, maybe because sa video material nga gi-present, okay, na binigay sa inyo, walang available na strontium test solution sa laboratory. Okay, so ito lang yung binigay na mga participating group 4 cations for this experiment. So, you have here a barium, calcium, and magnesium in one test tube. So, yan yung starting, no, ng experiment. Okay, next. Kindly read procedure 2. Jaya.
Add 1 ml of 3 molar ammonium chloride to the mixed test solutions and heat the sample on water bath for 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay,
To the
continue.
hot solution, add 3 molar of ammonium carbonate dropwise to make the solution alkaline. Then add excess of 3 molar of ammonium carbonate until precipitation is observed. Stir and
Okay.
centrifuge.
Okay. So yeah, thank you, Jaya. So, as mentioned sa next na step, the test solution, ito, sorry. Nawala na. Ayan. Nabungkag. Okay. So, as mentioned again, sa test, ano ba? Galihok lagi akong screen. Kadali lang ha. Okay. Sige, so you have a test solution of the 3 cations. Next step is to add ammonium chloride, meaning the test solution or the sample has been acidified. Okay, gi-acidified siya with ammonium chloride kasi acidic in nature yung ammonium chloride. Okay, and it is being heated. It is being heated sa water bath. Tsaka nilagyan ng precipitating agent. Saan dito yung precipitating agent? Ammonium carbonate. Okay? O let me ask you, kapag drops lang ng ammonium carbonate, does all of these ions, magnesium, calcium, and barium ion will form precipitate? Yes or no? Drops lang ha, drops only. Yes or no? Does all the ions, participating ions at the solution will form precipitate with just adding drops only of ammonium carbonate? Drops only. Will it form precipitate? Why? Why do you think no? Again, ha kani gi-acidify. Okay, gi-acidify siya dere. But it has been added already with a carbonate at a basic environment. Kaya nga ammonium carbonate, yes na lang. Okay? Of course, it will form a precipitate, no? All of them by adding just drops, no? Drops of ammonium carbonate. Kasi alkali na ngayon yung solution tapos may carbonate ion, no? Carbonate ion at basic environment. Kapag na-expose yung cations, group 4 cations na yan, alkaline, ang nature, tapos may carbonate ion, that will really form, no? Carbonate precipitates. Magnesium carbonate, calcium carbonate, barium carbonate. Yan yung precipitate. However, on the next step, sabi dito, add excess of ammonium carbonate. Excess of ammonium carbonate, that's the time na hindi lahat ng cations will now form precipitate. O saan dito yung hindi na, it will not form anymore carbonate precipitate with excess, no, ammonium carbonate. So very good, it's magnesium. Kumbaga, yung magnesium, hindi siya precipitate ngayon, nasa filtrate siya, nasa liquid portion siya. Kasi excess na ngayon, excess yung inad na ammonium carbonate. And I have mentioned earlier na with excess ammonium carbonate, ang magnesium carbonate is readily soluble. No, readily soluble. So yung question dito, what ions are precipitated among the three? Among the three, magnesium, calcium, and barium, saan dito yung parte ng precipitate? Both. Okay, very good. Both calcium and barium. Yun lang. Okay, then you will be observing later on the color of the precipitate. Okay, syempre, makita mo na sa video unsay color sa precipitate. Okay, so yan. Then sabi dito, note, set aside the filtrate. Yung filtrate is the liquid portion, ha? Yung liquid portion, yung nasa taas na part, it must be preserved, it must be saved kasi later gagamitin yun for the analysis of magnesium ion para to check, no, to confirm if magnesium is really present on that filtrate, no? So later, naatay confirmatory test for magnesium. So that would be the last part, no, sa procedure. O next. So inyong idea ngayon, after performing second procedure or procedure number 2, dapat in a test tube, diba, we have a white precipitate. So butang na to. Halimbawa, ito is the precipitate of calcium already. Calcium what? Calcium carbonate. Then you have a barium carbonate. No nga, precipitate after procedure 2. Now, to that white residue, kulay white kasi yung kulay, no, ng precipitate later. That will be washed, no? Huhugasan yung precipitate. O syempre, you have to collect the precipitate. I-separate naman nimo, set aside the filtrate. Meaning anong set aside, imong gi-separate, i-transfer sa other test tube baka, no, yung filtrate. So yung natira is the white precipitate with the calcium carbonate and barium carbonate. Again ha, precipitate. Solid or liquid ang precipitate? Sige nga. It's, okay, solid. So solid ha, nasa mind, solid. So residue, on that residue, solid residue, hugasan muna ng deionized water. Bakit siya hugasan? Siyempre, to remove ions of magnesium. Baka may ions of magnesium pa dyan. No? So para i-wash siya, add with the ionized water, then discard. No? I-discard yung, syempre i-centrifuge muna kasi we cannot discard easily a precipitate from a liquid portion without centrifugation. Kailangan nato i-centrifuge siya para madali lang yung decantation, di ba, ng filtrate. So discard then the filtrate after centrifugation. So ilabay na to kay water raman to. Atong gigamit pang hugas, di ba? Ang ato ramang purpose is testing the calcium and magnesium, the ions. Okay? Now, para matest natin yung barium ion later on and calcium ion, kailangan nating i-separate muna, no? etong precipitates, etong ions ng calcium, ions ng barium. Kasi in one precipitate pa man sila, we cannot confirm each kung di na to sila i-separate una. So dapat i-separate sa nato si calcium ion, i-separate from barium ion. So that is procedure 3. Separation, no? Procedure 3 and 4. Procedure 3, nawala na ang procedure 4, basta na diri ang procedure 4. Okay? So that's part of the separation ng calcium and barium ion. Okay? So after washing with the ionized water, it is added with acetic acid and you will be asked the solubility of the residue. So later, you must observe pagkatapos inadan ng acetic acid, ano yung mangyayari sa precipitate. Yung precipitate na merong calcium carbonate, barium carbonate. Kapag inadan daw ng acetic acid, ano yung mangyayari sa residue? Kapag tinanong yung solubility, dalawa lang yung possible answer nyo ha. Soluble or insoluble. Okay? So kapag nawala yung precipitate, liquid na upon addition ng acetic acid, soluble. Lagay nyo soluble. Okay? So na-dissolve na, liquid na ngayon, again, yung calcium ion, barium, ion upon adding acetic acid. So dito yung main separation process. Okay? So to separate ngayon, calcium and barium ion, we simply react the test solution with potassium chromate. O ano sabi ko kanina about chromate precipitate? Between calcium and barium, sino yung least soluble or probably magpo-form ng insoluble precipitate with barium? With potassium chromate, yes, very good. It's barium. Okay? So between calcium ion and barium ion, kapag excess ng potassium chromate yung inad, that will form barium chromate. Okay, barium chromate. And it's a color yellow, yellow precipitate. So with that, kapag na-separate mo yung barium via forming or producing barium chromate, okay, nasa filtrate na ngayon si calcium. 'Di ba? Kasi hindi na precipitate si calcium, nasa filtrate portion siya. So na-separate mo na somehow, si barium to that of calcium. Ang barium chromate as the precipitate, calcium nasa filtrate pa. Okay, nasa filtrate portion. Okay? So i-separate mo siya, transfer the filtrate. Filtrate is the liquid portion. Yung sa liquid portion, nandoon yung calcium ion. So, dili dapat ito nimo ilabay. Kay naapatay confirmatory test later sa calcium. Okay? So, I hope na kuha na sundan ang procedure. Okay? So, naka-form na taog precipitate again in a form of barium chromate. Anong kulay? Yellow. Precipitate. So, ayan. Delay ang akong pag-write. Dili makita. Ayun. Lumabas na yung barium chromate. So, yan. Yung precipitate for barium. Okay. After forming the precipitate, let's confirm, Confirm natin kung barium pa talaga yung na-precipitate. Okay, so this would be the confirmatory procedure for barium ion. So from that precipitate, from that yellow precipitate, i-dissolve natin ulit. Dissolve natin ulit with HCl. Kasi barium chromate is highly soluble siya, with HCl. So i-dissolve natin siya ulit, then dilute that with water. And then add sulfuric acid. Kasi ang barium ion in the presence of sulfate, okay, halimbawa yung source ng sulfate is sulfuric acid, that will form a sulfate, a sulfate precipitate, and that is in the form of barium sulfate. So kapag may nabuong kulay white precipitate upon reacting barium ion with sulfuric acid, dito na procedure kapag may white precipitate na nakita nyo later, that is an indicator na barium talaga yung present doon sa sample. Okay, so na-confirm, no? Confirm na barium ion yung na-separate natin from this preliminary procedure. Okay, so check, confirm yan ha. Kapag white, may formation of white precipitate, that is an indicator nga may barium ion. Okay, sa solution. Okay, so tapos na yung confirmatory test for barium. Let us proceed to calcium. Okay, nasaan ulit yung filtrate ng calcium? Ato siyang gi-separate kanina, di ba? Ito yon. Yung filtrate obtained sa procedure 8-4. O mo na siya, na-erase lang. Ayan. O mo na siya. Procedure 8-4. Di ba may filtrate kanina? Atong gi-transfer sa other test tube. Kasi yung filtrate doon, meron yung calcium ion. So ato i-confirm kung meron ba talagang calcium ion doon sa filtrate na yon. So this would be the confirmatory procedure for calcium. Ano yung ginamit to confirm calcium ion? What is the precipitating agent? Ano to? Sige nga, basahin nyo. K2C2O4. What is that? It's potassium. No, it's not chromate. Okay. It's potassium oxalate. Oxalate yan, potassium oxalate. Now, I have mentioned earlier na merong ion nga least soluble with oxalate. And ano yung ion na yun kanina? Okay, very good. Diba sabi ko, among the oxalates of these ions, it's the calcium oxalate that is less soluble. No, less soluble. That's why oxalate yung ginamit dito to confirm presence of calcium ion. Okay, in a basic environment. Kasi ammonia is basic. Ammonia is basic. So you will be observing a formation of precipitate, no? Formation of precipitate. Now, kapag may formation of white precipitate later upon adding potassium oxalate sa filtrate, okay, halimbawa, you have here the filtrate obtained from procedure 8-4. Okay? Kapag inadan yan ng potassium oxalate, tapos may na-form na white precipitate, indicator yan na calcium ion is present. Okay, so that is the confirmatory test for calcium ion. Ha? So you will be observing that later sa video material. Sige? And lastly, so tapos na. Kapag natapos yung procedure na to, so na-confirm na no nga calcium is being confirmed, being separated from the test solution. So isa na lang yung hindi pa natin na-confirm, yung magnesium ion. Asa ni nato makita sa procedure? Na-obtain nato ni siya sa procedure 8-2 kanina. Sa procedure 8-2, meron tayong sineparate na filtrate. Diba? Set aside itong, ako sa erase, ayan. Itong part na to, delay ang ayan. Itong part na to, meron tayong filtrate na sineparate sa procedure 8-2. Kasi 'di ba hindi nag-form ng carbonate precipitate diyan si magnesium ion kasi excess ammonium carbonate yung edad. So ato ang buhaton is to confirm if that filtrate contains magnesium ion. Okay? So to confirm, ito yung procedure natin, no, to confirm magnesium ion on that filtrate. Okay? Obtained sa procedure 8-2. So we simply add ammonia to make the solution basic and add the precipitating agent, sodium dihydrogen phosphate. Okay? So just follow, i-observe lang ninyo later, then mayroong formation of precipitate. Kapag may white precipitate being formed upon addition of sodium dihydrogen phosphate to that filtrate containing magnesium ion, then that is a confirmatory test already for magnesium ion. Okay, kapag may white precipitate. Then to further confirm magnesium ion on that test solution or on that sample, 'di ba? Meron ka nang nabuong white precipitate. Ato siyang i-dissolve again. Baliko nato siya i-liquefy. Dissolve natin siya with hydrochloric acid. Okay? Then dilute it with water. Then add another precipitating agent. Okay? Para i-further confirm kung magnesium ion ba gyud na. Okay, so to further confirm, magnesium reagent is being added. So this is just a prepared solution. Prepared na siya ng solution. Ang pangalan is magnesium reagent. Or ito yung magneson reagent. Okay? And then it is added with sodium hydroxide to just make the solution alkaline. Then simply observe the solution. Kapag may blue flocculent, mga tibugol, no, nga mga blue particles sa solution na pan-adding magnesium reagent, then that is also a confirmatory test na magnesium ion is present. Okay? So that would be the test, no? The several tests that you will be observing sa video material for this experiment. Lahat ng sagot nyo dapat must be reflected also here. No? Here. Kung ano yung sinagot nyo dito sa mga blank spaces, you also write it here sa table kasi mas organized yung nasa table. So halimbawa ha, sa procedure 8-2, di ba we started the experiment by adding test solutions in a test tube. Ano yung mga test solution? Test solution of calcium, magnesium, and barium. Ano yung precipitating agent nila? Ammonium carbonate. So ayan, nasa column 1, no? Row 1 para row. Ito yung row. Okay? So ang tanong, since excess yung inad dito, okay, excess yung inad, saan sa tatlo ang wala dapat sagot? Column 1, 2, 3. Dapat wala kay ibutang nga sagot. So under sa magnesium, so i-X ninyo, ayaw mo pagbutang og answer diri. Kaya ang gipangutan naman is right. I mean, ang pangayo, no? Ang gipangayo is write the color, the name, formula of the precipitate is sa magnesium. Wala namang precipitate na nabuo kasi excess ammonium carbonate yung inad nakuha. So dapat diri ra mo mag-supply. Okay? Then, di ba, after producing the precipitate, so meron kang precipitate ng barium carbonate, calcium carbonate, gidissolve nato sila. Gidissolve nato siya with acetic acid. Saan dito yung soluble? Is it the barium carbonate? O, baliki ang procedure. Is it the barium carbonate ang soluble with acetic acid or calcium carbonate? Or both? Barium, calcium, or both? Okay, very good. Both. So, dapat lagyan mo ng sagot dyan. No? Sagot sa both column. Okay, ito, wala pa din. No, wala siya dyan. Walang sagot dyan. Okay? And then, after dissolving with acetic acid, we confirm, no? Not confirm, but we separated, no? Separation siya. Separation of barium ion from calcium via addition of potassium chromate. Kasi 'di ba, the chromate of barium is least soluble. So dapat yung may sagot lang dito sa column is ito. Nakuha itong portion na to. Kasi katong nag-add ta og potassium chromate with ammonium, ang naalay precipitate, 'di ba, is si barium ion, and that is in a form of barium chromate. Dapat wala mo'y butang diri. Okay, i-follow lang gid ang procedure. Okay? And then we confirm the presence of barium ion via it's not ato siyang test iyang solubility, no, with HCl. to confirm if barium ion ba talaga yon. So, dito, you will be observing nga, soluble ba or not. Okay? Naman ni siya dire. Ayan, oh. Ito. Asa man to na part. Oh, ayan. Ito. Itong part na to. Dito. Ito. Procedure 8.3. No? Is procedure 8.3. You will be asked. Hindi. Asa man ni dapit. Ito pala. Sorry, 8.5. Procedure 8.5 class. Ang katong solubility of barium. Hugaw na kayo no? Ang ang papel. Sige, ato siya i-erase there nga part. Ito, procedure 8.5, it's not written man gyud here. Basta maglibog mo ba? After adding HCl sa precipitate na barium chromate. Ayan, barium chromate. Diba, it is being dissolved with HCl. Tingnan nyo later sa video, after adding HCl, what happened no, to the solution. Kung na-dissolve ba siya or not. That's why may tanong dito, solubility of barium chromate. Okay? Solubility of barium chromate with procedure. Okay? Then, ito naman yung confirmatory. Confirmatory of barium. Confirmatory of barium ion. So, ito pa rin yung may sagot. Wala ni siya. Nakuha? Then for oxalate, ano yung ion that is being confirmed with potassium oxalate between barium, calcium, and magnesium? Okay, very good. It's the calcium. No? Kanara ang naay answer. Kaninga part dire. Kasi barium is the one, calcium. No? It's the calcium ion that is being reacted with potassium. Ayan, oxalate. Kito, walang sagot dapat dito. Okay, so careful mo when you fill in your answer. Okay? And then, what about for sodium dihydrogen phosphate? Among the three, saan dito yung may reaction naman with sodium dihydrogen phosphate? It's the, okay, very good. It's the magnesium. Okay, so hanapin nyo lang dito, naaman siya sa, follow nyo lang yung mga labeled, no? Labeled nga procedure. No? Sa 8-7, ito yon 8-7, that's for magnesium. Okay, kumbaga yung nilagay nyo na mga observation per blank spaces sa taas, you also reflect it here sa table. You also reflect it here sa table. Then last, obvious naman, magnesium reagent yung ni-react, so it's for magnesium. So ito, wala ito. Okay? So yan yung activity nyo for this morning. Now, I will be presenting to you the, ayan, the video material no, for this activity. Okay.
We'll begin this procedure with a test solution containing our barium, calcium, and magnesium ions. We could also begin this procedure with the S9 solution that would have been set aside during the analysis of the ammonium sulfide group or group 3. We will start by
Okay, hello. Can you hear me? Okay. So as being presented sa video material, di ba, iyang i-present. Ito yung test solution na sinasabi ko kanina. This test solution already contained the three cations, the barium, calcium, and magnesium. Never mind yung sinabi niya na S3 na nilabel niya. That's for the group 3 cations. And tapos naman tayo sa group 3 cations. Ito, focus lang tayo sa group 4 cations. Okay? So how does the activity started? Ayan, nag-add siya ng ammonium chloride. No, ammonium chloride is being added. Then, it is being heated. No? I-heat siya, tsaka inad yung ammonium carbonate. Ammonium carbonate as the main
Water bath.
precipitating agent.
To our hot solution, we will add 3 molar ammonium carbonate dropwise until just basic. We will then add 1 milliliter in excess of 3 molar ammonium carbonate.
Putol-putol. Putol-putol ba yung video? Okay ra ang video? Dili siya putol-putol? Ang tingog?
Dili man.
Okay. Okay ra. Okay, sige. So ayan. Itong labeled na solution. This is the main precipitating agent, the ammonium carbonate. Then later it will be added in excess. So expect nga magnesium ion among the ions into that solution will not be precipitated or will not form a carbonate precipitate. Si magnesium ion.
Carbonate. We will mix the solution well and let it stand for 5 minutes to complete any precipitation. We will then centrifuge our solution. This is what our mixture looks like after centrifugation.
Okay. So ito yung test solution product after adding ammonium carbonate in excess. Okay, so itong precipitate na to may calcium carbonate and barium carbonate. Sa filtrate, ito sa liquid portion, nandito yung magnesium ion and that will be separated for later nga analysis of magnesium ion.
We will save our solution for the analysis of magnesium ion in a new test tube labeled S14.
Oh, never mind the label. It's within the discretion of the person doing the demo, no, kung ano yung label na gusto niyang ilagay sa test tube niya.
We will
So sa kanya,
relabel
nilagay
our residue as R4.
So yung sa kanya, nilagay niya na label para hindi siya malito ba? Hindi siya malito nasaan yung magnesium ion. So nilabel niya S14, nandoon yung filtrate of magnesium ion. Okay? Sige, let's continue. Testing already of this precipitate. So later pa na ang magnesium ion in this filtrate. Sige.
14. We will now perform the test for barium ion. We will begin by washing residue R14 with 1 milliliter of deionized water, then centrifuging and discarding the wash liquid.
Okay, so the reason why it is being washed with water, that is simply to remove the traces of magnesium
We will
ion.
next
Then,
add 5
yan.
drops of 6 molar acetic acid to our residue R14, and we will warm in a hot water bath to dissolve the carbonates.
Okay, so please observe, upon adding this acetic acid later, observe the solubility of this precipitate. Okay, kung soluble ba or not, upon adding this test solution later.
We
Tingnan
will
niyo
then
later.
add 5 drops of 3 molar ammonium acetate and dilute the solution to 1 milliliter with deionized water.
Okay, observe nyo. O, ano yung nangyari? Tingnan, nawala yung precipitate. Okay, so you can now answer if it is soluble or not with acetate. No, acetic acid. Ito, this is already part of the separation
We
of
will next
barium.
add 3 drops of 1 molar potassium chromate to our solution. We will then warm and agitate the mixture and centrifuge.
Ayan. So, upon adding potassium chromate, that is already part of separating barium ion from calcium. And you have already the idea nga, it's the barium ion that reacts with chromate, forming barium chromate precipitate.
This is what our mixture looks like after centrifugation.
Okay, so observe that yellow precipitate. Again, that is already the barium chromate, no? The barium chromate, the yellow precipitate.
We will decant the solution into a new test tube labeled S15 and save the solution for the analysis of calcium ion.
Okay, so in that filtrate, nandyan yung calcium ion. So later that will be confirmed.
We will relabel our precipitate of barium chromate as R15. We will next dissolve the yellow precipitate R15 with 2 to 3 drops of 6 molar
Okay. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Try to observe the solubility of barium chromate, yung yellow precipitate with HCl, kung soluble ba or not. Kasi you are asked sa table, sa worksheet 8, kung soluble ba yung barium chromate with HCl. So try to observe.
We will then dilute to 2 milliliters with deionized water. We will then add 1 to 2 drops of 3 molar sulfuric acid. A white precipitate of barium sulfate will confirm the presence of barium ion.
Ayan, tingnan. Mula sa insoluble yellow precipitate, upon adding HCl, you can see a yellow solution already na-dissolve, no? Na-dissolve yung barium chromate. Ito, confirmatory test na dayon yan. Yung proceeding na mga inad niya, under na yan sa confirmatory test of barium. Ito yung main precipitating agent. The sulfuric acid. Okay? So kapag may white precipitate, indicator yan na na-confirm yung barium ion. Ayan.
The white precipitate of barium sulfate confirms the presence of barium ion.
Okay, so please take note of the name and the formula later sa barium precipitate doon, the barium sulfate. So that's under confirmatory test ng barium. Barium sulfate, white precipitate is being formed.
We will now perform the test for calcium ion. To solution S15, we will add 10 drops of 1 molar potassium oxalate. We will then add 6 molar ammonia dropwise until the solution is basic. The formation of a white precipitate of calcium oxalate indicates the presence of calcium ion.
This portion is already confirmatory testing for calcium ion. Yung filtrate kanina. Added with potassium oxalate. So kapag may white precipitate, indicator yan na confirm may calcium ion talaga sa filtrate na yun. Ayan. So that's the white precipitate
The
of...
formation of the white precipitate of calcium oxalate confirms the presence of calcium ion.
Okay,
We
calcium
will now perform the
oxalate
test
yan.
for magnesium ion. To solution S14, we will add 1 milliliter of 6 molar ammonia, and then we will add 0.5 milliliters of 1 molar sodium dihydrogen phosphate, and we will stir for 5 to 10 minutes. A white precipitate of magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate is a preliminary.
Please take note, yan. Please take note of that ha, the mentioned name of the precipitate upon adding this one, the sodium dihydrogen phosphate. Sabi dito,
Sodium
listen.
dihydrogen phosphate, and we will stir for 5 to 10 minutes. A white precipitate of magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate.
Okay, it's a white precipitate of magnesium ammonium phosphate, no? Magnesium ammonium phosphate. That is the name of the precipitate. Kasi it is asked, manggod, sa table, the name of the precipitate upon adding this one, sodium dihydrogen phosphate. So take note, nasa diri nga portion gi-mention.
Hydrate is a preliminary indicator of magnesium.
Ayan. Kapag may white precipitate na nabuo, indicator yan na magnesium ion is initially present.
After 10 minutes, we will centrifuge our mixture and discard the liquid. We will then wash our precipitate with deionized water, centrifuge again, and discard the wash liquid. We will next dissolve our precipitate by adding several drops of 6 molar hydrochloric acid and 1 milliliter of deionized water. We will then add 1 drop of magnesium reagent. We will then make the solution alkaline with the addition of 6 molar sodium hydroxide.
Okay, so please observe a blue flocculent no nga ma-form. That is an indicator na magnesium ion is present. Confirm siya, confirm nga magnesium ion is present. Okay, so that is a positive result, no? Positive result yan kasi may blue
The blue
flocculent.
flocculant confirms the presence of magnesium ion.
Okay, so for a while ha. Okay, do you have question? Question. Question about the activity. Wala. Walay questions bitaw. You're 56 here, so okay ra na kaya ra ang activity for this morning. All the answers are given already, no? Given na yung answers, you just have to supply it. You still have 2 hours, no, until 12 man dapat. Okay, so I'll give the remaining time for you to accomplish the activity. It's a very simple activity kasi all the answers are given. Spoon-fed na yung answers. Okay? Sige, so I think that would be all for the pre-lab discussion for this activity. Please answer, accomplish the activity for the remaining time. You still have 2 hours man. So sayang if inyuhang i-waste ang 2 hours and magbilar pa mo unyang gabi to answer this activity. So why not use that time tonight to study na lang kay basi-basi na mo i-quiz later sa tomorrow sa inyuhang other subject, no? So please do not procrastinate, okay? Sige. So that would be all. That would be all for this morning. I'll see you this afternoon for the lecture discussion. Okay, I'll be posting the laboratory report template Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Please do your part ha for this activity. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you,
Sige, sige.
ma'am.
Thank you,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.